The following footage was recorded on Legendary, unless otherwise noted. Additionally, this series will build on topics covered in my original Hokie School of Halo, so if you haven't already watched that, I recommend you do so before proceeding. What's up guys, Hokie Bird here, bringing you episode 2 of Hokie School of Halo 2. In this episode, we'll be going over the UNSC weapons. In Halo 2, there are 7 UNSC weapons that you can find in the game. They are the Battle Rifle, SMG, Magnum, Frag Grenade, Shotgun, Sniper Rifle, and Rocket Launcher. I'll be covering each of these weapons in the order that you find them in the game, so first up we have the Battle Rifle. The Battle Rifle is the reimagining of the pistol seen in Halo Combat Evolved. Bungie noticed that players often use the pistol as their primary weapon instead of the iconic assault rifle because of its immense power, so they decided to make the primary weapon that the player would use into a rifle, since that was the original intent in Halo Combat Evolved anyway. Like the Combat Evolved pistol before it, the Battle Rifle is headshot capable. It will kill any unshielded enemy in one shot so long as you shoot the head. And this time around, the Battle Rifle is much more accurate than the aforementioned pistol. Now, a new feature introduced in Halo 2 is that there's actually an indicator on your reticle that'll tell you when you're lined up for a headshot. Check this out. If you look very closely at the center of the reticle, notice what happens when I aim at the enemy's head. There's a very small red dot that appears in the center of the reticle, and this indicates a headshot. If you fire the weapon with this red dot present, you will instantly kill the enemy you're aiming at so long as it is unshielded. And this red dot feature is present in all of the headshot capable weapons in the game, not just the Battle Rifle. Now, in the heat of combat, you'll probably be moving too quickly to notice this red dot, but from long range or in situations where enemies haven't noticed you, it can be somewhat useful. Quite honestly though, this red dot is much more useful on the sniper weapons than it is on the Battle Rifle. The Battle Rifle is unique in that it is a burst fire rifle. It has a 36 round magazine and can hold an extra 108 rounds in reserve. But because it fires in bursts of 3 bullets, the magazine is effectively only 12 bursts, and the extra ammo that it can carry is effectively only 36 bursts. This means that ammo for the weapon is quite limited. You should only use it against enemies that will die in one headshot, like grunts and jackals. You really can't afford to expend it on elites until their shield is depleted. While the weapon is capable of killing a red elite major in about 9 to 10 bursts, you should try to avoid doing so due to how wasteful it is. In general, the Battle Rifle should be your go-to all-around UNSC headshot weapon. You should carry one with you whenever possible and will get the vast majority of your kills with it. Just don't try to use it to take down shields. Next up is the SMG, which is short for Submachine Gun. The SMG is the reimagining of the Halo Combat Evolved assault rifle and has many similarities to the original weapon. It is fully automatic, has a 60 round magazine, has a similar reticle shape and size, and has bullet behavior that closely mimics the Halo Combat Evolved assault rifle. Unlike the assault rifle though, the SMG can only carry 180 rounds in reserve instead of 600, and the reload speed is significantly faster than that of the assault rifle. Also unlike the assault rifle, the SMG is dual wieldable, which means that you can effectively double your damage output if you carry 2 of them at once. Even on Legendary, 2 SMGs firing at an enemy simultaneously are absolutely devastating. It's just a shame that your shields are so weak that you probably won't survive long enough to finish off said enemy. Following the balancing fundamentals seen in Halo Combat Evolved, being fully automatic means that the SMG is not headshot capable. Unlike the Battle Rifle, it does not matter where you hit your targets, so just aim for center mass. After all, with a weapon like this, it's not like you can control where you hit your target anyway. When firing the weapon, I recommend you do so in bursts due to the enormous amount of recoil that the weapon produces. Now, your pauses between bursts don't have to be long, but if you don't pause at all and just fire the weapon fully automatic, you'll notice the reticles start to walk upwards on you, pulling your aim off target. If you can afford to do so, I also recommend only firing one of the weapons at a time while dual wielding them so that you have one in reserve while the other reloads. This effectively gives you a bottomless clip until you run out of ammo. Because of this and the absolutely devastating amount of firepower that 2 SMGs can produce, I recommend dual wielding the SMG if you're ever going to use one at all. Unfortunately, the SMG's shots are fairly weak and struggle at taking down Elite's shields. Although they will stun the hell out of the Elite once the shield is down, they usually won't be able to strip the shield fast enough for your pathetically weak shields to survive the encounter. Because of this, I rarely ever use the SMG in the campaign except to take out drones or flood infection forms. Next up is the Magnum, which is a more realistic take on what the Halo Combat Evolved pistol should have been. It's basically a stripped down model that no longer features a scope. However, the Magnum shares the same 12-round magazine as the Combat Evolved pistol and is also headshot capable, though it can only carry 48 extra rounds in reserve this time around instead of 120. Unlike the Halo Combat Evolved pistol, the Magnum fires extremely quickly. It's not an uncapped fire rate like the pistol eventually seen in Halo 3 ODST, but it's still pretty damn fast. It also reloads much more quickly than the pistol from Combat Evolved. Like the SMG, the Magnum is dual wieldable, making it the only headshot capable dual wieldable weapon in the game. This means that it actually isn't completely useless since you're quite capable of using it to kill grunts, jackals, and unshielded elites with a single headshot from close range. This also means that unlike the SMG, you should almost never carry two Magnums at the same time. While firing two Magnums is one of the most badass sounding things you can do in the game, it doesn't pack the punch of dual SMGs, it's incredibly wasteful in ammo, and if you're aiming for the head, you should only need 1 or 2 shots at a time anyway, not 24. In other words, you really should only ever carry a Magnum in one hand and a plasma pistol in the other. This combo is just as effective as the plasma pistol battle rifle combo, possibly even more so because you have both weapons out at the same time and you don't have to switch. But look at this, even the reticles complement each other. Unfortunately, because the Magnum lacks a scope, it is completely outstripped by the superior battle rifle, since it too is headshot capable. The only reason to carry a Magnum is to save ammo for the battle rifle or if the battle rifle simply isn't available. Next up is the Frag Grenade, which isn't encountered until you reach the first Pelican Bay of Cairo Station. The Frag Grenade is the standard grenade used by the UNSC and has been largely unchanged from the version of it seen in Halo Combat Evolved. It still has a 1.5 second fuse which is activated as soon as it touches the surface and is most effective at clearing out large groups of grunts and jackals. Unfortunately, the Frag Grenade's effectiveness against elites has been significantly nerfed to the point of being absolutely pathetic. One blast won't be enough to take out their shields or even do a significant amount of damage to them, let alone kill the elite. And elites will usually use their evade maneuvers to dive out of the way of incoming frag grenades anyway. This is a damn shame because it means that the weapon is nearly useless. Just look at the difference in how effective a frag grenade is in Halo Combat Evolved versus how effective it is in Halo 2. I almost never bother to use frag grenades against elites unless I'm desperate or have already stripped the elite's shields and simply want to pry them out of cover. In general, I only use frag grenades in Halo 2 against groups of grunts or jackals that are hiding behind their shields. Next up is the shotgun, which is actually encountered in the very first mission of the game this time around. And that is about the only positive thing that I can say about this weapon. The shotgun has received one of the largest nerfs I've ever seen in any game. It has gone from being the single best weapon in Halo Combat Evolved to one of the worst weapons in Halo 2. The most notable change to the behavior of the shotgun in Halo 2 is the reload speed. Like I mentioned in my original segment on it, the shotgun reloads individual shells instead of pulling out an empty or partially empty magazine and putting in a fresh one. In Halo Combat Evolved, the shotgun reloads its shells at a rate of 1 round every 0.4 seconds. But in Halo 2, this rate has been lowered to only 1 round per second. This wouldn't be so bad if firing the weapon was as effective as it used to be, but it's not. Not by a long shot. The Halo 2 shotgun now lacks any of the range or stopping power of the original weapon. The damage itself actually seems to be pretty similar, at least in terms of how many shots it takes to kill an elite, but there's so much more to bullet effects than just damage. The effective range of the shotgun has been drastically reduced such that if you're any further than about point blank range, you might as well just be shooting confetti at the enemies. Also, enemies no longer recoil back, nor are they stunned in any way when you shoot them with this weapon. If you shoot a sword-wielding elite with the shotgun in Halo 2, he'll just keep running right at you. If you shoot a combat form with this weapon, it will seemingly have no effect unless you manage to kill it. Compare this to how the weapon behaves in Halo Combat Evolved, and you'll see why the Halo 2 shotgun is so unsatisfying to use, not to mention its ineffectiveness. The only time I ever recommend using the shotgun in Halo 2 is when you can sneak around and get the drop on your enemies at close range, or when you have no other options. Next up is the sniper rifle, which is first encountered in the Outskirts mission. Unlike the shotgun, the sniper rifle has been largely unchanged from the one seen in Combat Evolved. It still has a 4-round magazine, but can now only carry 20 shots in reserve instead of 24. The only other difference in the weapon itself is the fact that the scope now offers 5x and 10x magnifications instead of 2x and 10x, which to be honest really isn't all that noticeable. The sniper rifle is, of course, headshot capable, so it has a tiny red dot that appears in the very center of the reticle when you're aiming at the head. Like I mentioned with the battle rifle, this red dot is probably too small to see in the heat of combat, but can be useful for lining up headshots against unaware enemies from a distance. The major change made to the sniper rifle in Halo 2 is that it now stuns elites and jackals when you shoot them. This stun effect is a very predictable short step back, and it happens on every shot, even if the enemy is still shielded. In effect, you can use the stun time on the enemy to line up a killing headshot, which makes sniping the single most effective tactic against infantry in the entire game. In general, I use the sniper rifle anytime that there's one available, and will hold onto it for as long as the ammo lasts. Last up, we have the rocket launcher, which is first encountered towards the end of the Outskirts mission. The rocket launcher has been largely unchanged from the one found in Halo Combat Evolved, except that it now can only carry 6 extra rounds instead of 8. The rocket launcher behaves the same way against infantry as it always has, just aim somewhere near the target and let it rip. However, it has received a major upgrade in its effectiveness at taking out vehicles. You can now lock on to any enemy vehicle or shade turret with a rocket launcher by holding down the trigger. This will initiate a very brief targeting sequence, and once it's complete, letting go of the trigger will fire the rocket. The rocket will then proceed to home in on the enemy vehicle, and it rarely ever misses except against ghosts. As I mentioned before, the rocket launcher is best utilized by giving it to a Marine ally. In their hands, it has infinite ammo, never needs to be reloaded, and still homes in on enemy vehicles. I cannot stress enough, however, that the weapon only behaves this way against vehicles. Against infantry, the rockets will fly straight at wherever you or the Marine aim it, and enemies will occasionally be able to evade them. Speaking of which, the rockets now fly much faster through the air than they did in Halo Combat Evolved. In general, I use the rocket launcher to take out vehicles and shade turrets, or I give it to a Marine if I'm going to be using a vehicle myself. The firepower of a Marine armed with a rocket launcher can even exceed that of a Scorpion tank. Well, that's all the UNSC weapons in the game, so that's going to be the end of this episode of Hokie's School of Halo 2. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you learned something, and I hope you'll join me for the next episode where I'll be going over the Covenant weapons. Until then, I'm Hokie Bird, and I'm out. See you later, guys.